All right, everyone. So I want to talk to you guys about Nazi German racism against Slavic people. When the Germans were conquering other countries, they were doing so under the ideological concept of Lebensraum, the Nazi concept of Lebensraum. Lebensraum means living space. So they believed that Germany was not enough for the German people, that they needed to conquer other countries and to murder their local populations in order to make room for the Germans, to make living space, Lebensraum, for the German race. And they saw Slavic people and Jewish people as inferior, and they believed that they had the right to exterminate these people in this ideological paradigm of social Darwinism. We are the German race. We are strong. We have the superior genes, and you guys have the inferior genes. And therefore, in order to continue on the process of human evolution and become Übermensches, become supermen, we must kill you. And the Nazis believed that the Slavs were inferior. So I want to talk to you guys about that. And I want to talk specifically about what the Nazis were doing when they invaded Poland. In fact, the hatred towards the Poles was so vicious and so violent and destructive that when the Nazis invaded Poland, Polish people were buying the Star of David patches so they could pretend to be Jews, because at that point, at least they would be sent to a ghetto as opposed to a concentration camp. There is a number that I have never heard of before, a statistic. I've never heard of this before until recently, but I found it really quite telling as to how violent the hatred towards the Poles was from the Nazis. And that is between 1939 and 1941, for every Jewish person that was killed, for every one Jewish person that was killed in Poland by the Nazis, 10 non-Jewish Poles were murdered. 10 Poles were murdered for every one Jew that was murdered in Poland under Nazi occupation. It was horrific. The Jews greatly suffered, and the Polish people also greatly suffered. 3 million Polish Jews were murdered. 2 million non-Jewish Poles were murdered. Ethnic Poles were murdered. They were both sought after by the Nazis for racialist, social Darwinist extermination. It really is that horrific. A big question that people ask when it comes to the Holocaust is, where were the heroes? Where were the people to come and save Jewish people from being murdered by the Nazis? The fact is, there were people who rescued Jews. Many of them, most of them, were Polish. Out of all the countries that had people who rescued Jews, Poland had the highest number of Gentiles who risked their lives to rescue Jews from the Nazi policy of anti-Semitic extermination. And even Yad Vashem, which documents, Yad Vashem is the department that documents all of the cases of righteous Gentiles who went out of their way, risked their lives to save the lives of Jewish people. And Yad Vashem confirms that Poland had the highest number of heroes for the Jews during the Holocaust. This is a fact that I rarely ever hear when it comes to conventional discourse on the Holocaust. there were numerous Polish, anti-Nazi Polish organizations that rescued Jewish people. There were many monasteries, Catholic churches who rescued Jewish people. There were priests, there were nuns, they were monks, there were many, many Catholic people, Polish Catholic people, who rescued Jewish people. And there was one organization that really, really did a lot of this work, and it was called Zegota. And it says here in this book, I'm reading this book, it's called Poland's Holocaust by Tadeusz Petrovsky. Very good book. And it says here, many Jews survived thanks to Zegota. To assist the Jews in their hour of need, the Polish government delegation for the homeland established the Provincial Committee of Konrad Zegota on September 27th, 1942. Zofia Koska-Zuka and Wanda Kralenska-Filopovics, I can't read Polish names, Filopowiskowa, were co-presidents. On December 4th of that year, the name of the committee was changed to the Council for Aid to Jews, etc., etc. So here's a list of what Zegota did. Provided financial assistance. In 1944, 4,000 Jews were receiving 500 zloty on average per month, the same allocation as that received by AK members. AK members being the anti-Nazi Polish resistance, just enough to keep one from starving. Forged Aryan documents. In 1943 to 1944, about 50,000 such documents were provided, usually free of charge, to Jews in hiding. Located safe houses and constructed camouflaged hiding places, provided medical assistance and food to the needy, cared for and placed children in Polish homes, orphanages, and boarding schools administered by the main Social Welfare Council, or by orders of nuns. About 2,500 children were hidden in Warsaw by Zegota, maintained contacts with certain forced labor camps, and delivered correspondence and funds through Jewish agencies. In a few instances, Jewish prisoners, for example, Ringelblum and Mitchell Borwiks, were actually rescued from these camps, facilitated escapes to Hungary for a few dozen Jews from Krakow, etc., etc. And it goes on to say that the Roman Catholic Church, through hundreds of its monasteries, convents, and parish churches, also assisted the Jewish community by providing birth certificates, food, clothing, and shelter. In addition, many Polish people brought packages of food, medicine, and clothing to the ghettos and forced labor camps, provided the Jews with money, and helped them to establish contacts with their families, both in Poland and abroad. So, people ask, where were the heroes? Where were the heroes? There were many heroes, and many of them were Polish. The question that I ask is, where were the people to save the heroes? You guys just heard some theology. God bless.